Have you ever caught yourself wondering whether asking for a kiss from a mature woman might ruin the very moment you've been waiting for? Or even worse, make her lose interest just when the chemistry feels undeniable? It's a thought that many men wrestle with. That spark of connection seems so real, so alive, and yet the uncertainty of how to move forward can suddenly cloud your confidence. Should you lean in without words? Should you ask directly? Or should you wait for her to give some unmistakable sign? These questions often weigh heavily on men, especially when it comes to women who have lived through years of experience and carry with them a depth that changes everything about how intimacy unfolds. Here's the good news. Asking for a kiss doesn't have to ruin the moment. In fact, when done with presence, attentiveness, and confidence, it can amplify desire and deepen connection in ways you may never have imagined. The truth is that the key doesn't lie so much in the words themselves, but in the energy behind them, how you communicate, how tuned in you are, and how you've prepared the moment leading up to it. So let's begin by unpacking what really goes through a mature woman's mind. This isn't about rehearsing some clever line or memorizing tricks. Instead, it's about understanding psychology, emotional rhythm, and the unspoken cues that shape attraction. A mature woman, someone in her 40s, 50s, or beyond, is not looking for the same things that a younger woman might. The energy is different. A younger woman may be swept up in the thrill of adrenaline, the sudden rush of spontaneity, the spark that flares quickly and burns bright in an instant. For her, a kiss can ignite almost out of nowhere, fueled by playfulness, novelty, and excitement. But for a mature woman, the dynamic is richer, deeper, and far more textured. It isn't about chasing a fleeting spark. It's about nurturing a flame that grows slowly, steadily, and meaningfully. It's about the long looks, the intentional silences, the conversations that touch deeper truths, and the gestures that reveal presence and care. What makes her heart open isn't recklessness, it's resonance. This is why so many men feel insecure when they reach that moment. They've grown accustomed to interactions that rewarded boldness or spontaneity, and suddenly they realize that what worked before doesn't apply here. The playful tricks or impulsive gestures that felt natural with younger women can feel out of sync with someone whose perspective has been shaped by life experience. With a mature woman, it isn't about trying to impress her, it's about connecting with her. That is the crucial difference. If you attempt to lean in for a kiss without first attuning to her energy, you risk breaking the delicate tension that has been building between you. And here's the most important part. The issue is not that asking for a kiss makes you insecure. The real problem arises when you fail to read her signals and create disconnection. Insecurity, in this sense, is not about lack of confidence. It's about not being present enough to notice what she has already been showing you. Because let me assure you, a mature woman knows exactly what she wants. And if she's interested in you, she will have given you signals long before you even thought of leaning in. She will have let you see her interest in ways that are subtle, yet unmistakable if you know how to observe. Maybe she brushes your arm lightly during conversation. Maybe her gaze lingers longer than expected. Maybe she leans in closer as you speak, or lets her laughter flow a little more freely in your company. These are not accidents, they are cues, her way of opening the door without ever needing to spell it out. The art lies in feeling these moments, in understanding that a kiss for her isn't just a physical act, but an affirmation that the two of you are in sync emotionally. And if she's been sending you signals while you remain oblivious, she may begin to feel a disconnection. From her perspective, it might appear as though you're not truly present or attuned. And for a woman who values attentiveness, detail, and presence, that can be the very thing that turns a yes into a no. Think about it this way. A kiss is not only a gesture of attraction, it's the culmination of the emotional groundwork you've been laying all along. Every glance, every word, every pause is part of that preparation, A mature woman expects you to sense when the timing feels natural, when the atmosphere itself is ripe with possibility. She doesn't need you to rush or force it. In fact, she'll appreciate you more for being able to pause, for holding the silence, for lingering in the gaze that says more than words ever could. Real desire isn't born in speed. It's born in patience, in the steady building of trust and anticipation. So the next time you find yourself caught in that question, should I go for it or not? Reframe it. Instead of asking yourself whether to take the leap, ask whether you've connected enough for the kiss to flow naturally. Has the conversation deepened? Have you noticed her signals? Has the atmosphere become one where silence feels comfortable and closeness feels inevitable? If the answer is yes, then the kiss will not be something you take or ask for, but rather something that emerges as the natural next step in a shared rhythm. It's not about bravado or hesitation, it's about alignment. Now let's address a common scenario: hesitation. Picture this: you're at an intimate dinner together. The lights are low, the conversation has flowed beautifully all evening, and every exchange has brought you closer. She looks at you with a gaze that isn't rushed or casual, but deeply curious, as if she's looking past the surface and into the core of who you are. You feel it. The air itself is charged with anticipation. Every part of you knows this is the moment, but just as you lean closer, doubt creeps in. Instead of leaning in confidently, you stop yourself and blurt out, "Can I kiss you?" It's honest. It's respectful. Yet something in her expression shifts. She withdraws, not because she dislikes you, not because she doesn't value consent, but because that tiny flicker of hesitation suggested you didn't fully grasp the connection you had both been building. That sliver of doubt was enough to break the magic. What we often fail to realize is that for a mature woman, the seconds leading up to the kiss can be even more powerful than the kiss itself. It's in that space, when closeness is inevitable yet untouched, that the greatest intensity resides. For her, those moments are the true test of whether you're on the same wavelength. It's not about physical attraction alone, it's about the deep assurance that you understand her without needing to be told. When you hesitate from insecurity, she may feel unseen. She may think, "Hasn't he noticed how present I've been? Didn't he feel what I've been feeling all along?" This doesn't mean that asking for a kiss is wrong. In fact, when done from a place of confidence and attunement, it can be incredibly powerful. The difference lies in the energy behind the words. Imagine moving in slowly, your eyes locked on hers, your voice steady and low, as if you already know the answer. Instead of stumbling over uncertainty, you say, "Now's the moment. I want to kiss you. May I?" Suddenly, everything changes. It's not a question born of doubt. It's a confirmation of the chemistry you both know is alive. She feels understood. She feels seen. And that sense of being recognized, of knowing you're present and aware, is more intoxicating than any line you could ever rehearse. In her mind, the kiss becomes less about lips meeting and more about the deeper truth, that you've been paying attention, that you understand the unspoken, and that you respect her experience enough to align with it. That is why, with a mature woman, the kiss is never simply the end goal. It's a doorway into something deeper. If she senses that you've been attentive, that you haven't rushed, but also haven't overlooked her, then that first kiss becomes the start of a connection that may grow far beyond the moment itself. The key isn't whether you ask or don't ask. It's whether your presence conveys certainty, attentiveness, and respect. When those elements align, the kiss becomes inevitable, not as a conquest, but as an extension of everything you've been building together. When you begin to understand the subtle dance of connection with a mature woman, you quickly realize that hesitation is never just hesitation. It communicates something much larger. A pause can either heighten the magic or shatter it, depending entirely on where it comes from. If it stems from attentiveness, from holding the silence because the moment itself is speaking, then that pause builds anticipation and intimacy. But if it comes from insecurity, from uncertainty about her feelings, or from not having paid attention to her signals, then the very same pause becomes disruptive. In her mind, a hesitation rooted in doubt translates into disconnection. She thinks, he didn't feel what I was feeling. He wasn't fully present. This is why confidence, not bravado but calm assuredness, matters so deeply when intimacy hangs in the balance. Confidence in this context isn't about moving fast or dominating. It's about showing that you've been aware, that you've read her signals correctly, and that you're tuned in to the shared rhythm between you. Picture this again, but with a different approach. The two of you are seated across from each other at a dinner table, the world around you fading as conversation flows effortlessly. She looks into your eyes with that steady curiosity that comes only from someone who isn't in a hurry, someone who knows how to savor. You lean in slightly, not rushing, not fumbling, but holding her gaze as though you've already been speaking volumes without words. Then, instead of hesitating with uncertainty, your voice comes low, grounded, sure. You say, I've been wanting to kiss you all night. May I? In that single moment, everything changes. It's not the request itself, but the way it's delivered, rooted in presence and confirmation, not in doubt. She feels you've been paying attention, that you haven't misread her openness, and that you are confident enough to honor what's already unfolding naturally. For her, that is infinitely more attractive than a rushed or careless gesture. This brings us to the heart of what she really thinks when you hesitate. Many men don't realize how attuned mature women are to subtle dynamics. Over time, through life experience and relationships, they've developed a finely tuned ability to read energy, body language, and intention. They don't require elaborate explanations or dramatic gestures to understand what's happening. They feel it. They sense when you lean in with real desire, when the atmosphere shifts because of closeness, when your eyes reveal more than your words ever could. To her, clarity exists in the space between gestures. So when you hesitate from insecurity, what she perceives isn't caution, but absence. It tells her you haven't been fully immersed in the same moment she's been experiencing. And that breaks the magic, because what she values most is not a kiss in isolation, but the emotional resonance that surrounds it. Now, imagine the opposite. You move in with certainty, slowly closing the distance, never breaking eye contact. In that intimate space where time seems to stop, you speak softly, not asking with fear, but affirming what both of you already know. Your words, though respectful, carry conviction. Now is the moment. I want to kiss you. May I? That single sentence, framed with presence, creates an entirely different emotional reality. She feels recognized. She feels you understand her signals, her openness, her desire to be seen and valued. That is what transforms an ordinary kiss into a moment she'll remember. For a mature woman, intimacy is not about sudden impulses, but about depth. What she craves is to feel understood, not just physically desired, but emotionally connected. This distinction leads us into the practical side, how to ask for a kiss in ways that never fail, because they're rooted in presence, not performance. Let's walk through some scenarios. Picture a summer evening, the two of you walking side by side as the sun sets, painting the world in warm colors. This isn't your first time together. The connection has been simmering beneath the surface for some time. As you walk, your arms brush occasionally, and she glances at you with that smile that carries both playfulness and invitation. You feel the air thick with possibility. Many men in this exact situation rush in without care, hoping the timing will sort itself out. But that impatience rarely works with a mature woman. Instead, you pause slightly, Lean closer, not invading, but simply closing enough distance to make your presence felt. And in a voice that's low and intimate, you say, "Now's the time. I want to kiss you. May I?" You're not asking in doubt, you're affirming. And the beauty of this approach is that you leave the door open, giving her space to step forward with her own willingness. That's what excites her. Not dominance, but attunement. Not pressure, but invitation. But not every moment calls for intensity. Sometimes the most memorable way to ask for a kiss is with lightness and humor. Imagine the two of you sitting in a cafe, laughter bubbling between you after a shared story. The mood is playful, relaxed, almost deceptively casual. Beneath the laughter, though, there's an undercurrent of curiosity and attraction. This is not the moment for deep gazes or heavy silences. It's the moment for ease. She's laughing at your words, her shoulders relaxed, her body language open. You smile, lean closer in a playful way, slip an arm gently around her waist, and say with warmth, "You're amazing. Can I kiss you?" Here, the magic lies not in intensity, but in lightheartedness. If she laughs, even if she playfully says, "Not yet," the connection isn't broken. Instead, the teasing becomes part of the dance. She enjoys the banter, the naturalness, the absence of pressure. And often, after a few more laughs, the kiss will come. Not because you forced it, but because it unfolded organically. There's another kind of moment, though, that calls not for humor or intensity, but for vulnerability. Imagine sitting together on a park bench at the end of a long day. Silence stretches between you, but it's not empty. It's full of meaning. She sits close, her presence grounding and calm. You look at her, noticing the softness of her expression, the quiet strength in her posture. This isn't a time for jokes or grand declarations. Instead, you lean just a little closer, brush a strand of hair from her face, and let your voice reveal what's been on your mind. "I can't stop thinking about kissing you. May I?" This is one of the most powerful ways to ask, because it communicates vulnerability without weakness. You're sharing your desire openly, letting her see the truth of how you feel. And if she meets your gaze in that moment, if she holds the silence with you and allows her lips to part just slightly, you know you've both arrived at the same place. Each of these approaches, intensity, humor, vulnerability, works not because of a script, but because of timing. The power is in your ability to read the moment, to sense what atmosphere has been created, and to match your words to the energy between you. That is what separates genuine connection from clumsy advances. A mature woman doesn't want to be impressed with flashy gestures or rushed passion. She wants to be understood. She wants to know that you've been paying attention to her cues, her rhythms, her desires, without needing her to spell them out. When you do this, the kiss becomes not just welcome, but inevitable. Now let's go deeper into something most men overlook, the importance of setting. The place where you choose to share that first kiss matters far more than you might think. It's not about grand backdrops or dramatic scenery. It's about creating an environment that supports intimacy. A mature woman isn't looking for hidden corners or flashy displays. She wants to feel safe, comfortable, and free to let her guard down. The right setting doesn't just allow a kiss to happen, it enhances everything leading up to it. Take the story of my friend Ricardo. He had been courting an incredible woman named Patricia. She was intelligent, funny, and radiated a calm beauty. They had gone out several times and the chemistry was there, but the kiss hadn't yet happened. Ricardo grew anxious, obsessing over when and how it should occur. One afternoon, he invited Patricia to stroll through a bustling shopping center. His reasoning was simple. Being surrounded by life and energy would make her feel relaxed. But what actually happened was the opposite. The bright lights, the noise, the constant interruptions of other people passing by, it all worked against intimacy. He tried several times to move closer, but the setting itself made it impossible. There was no privacy, no sense of being in a world of their own. By the end of the outing, the moment had slipped away. Ricardo later realized his mistake. Setting is fundamental. You can be confident, attentive, and emotionally present, but if the environment doesn't support intimacy, the connection falters. A park at sunset, a quiet cafe corner with dim lights, or a cozy living room with a glass of wine, these simple settings do what no flashy location can. They create space, they slow time, they let the outside world fall away so that only the two of you remain. When Ricardo finally invited Patricia to a quiet bar with warm lighting and comfortable seating, everything changed. Conversation flowed, laughter came easily, and the closeness developed naturally. When he leaned in at last, the kiss felt like the most natural conclusion to a perfectly set scene. That's the lesson. The right setting is not about luxury but intimacy. Mature women are far more attuned to how environments shape energy. If she feels relaxed, if she feels that the space allows her to lower her guard, then everything else unfolds effortlessly. If she feels distracted or pressured by the environment, even the most heartfelt approach may fall flat. So the next time you think about asking for a kiss, don't only consider the timing, consider the place. Is this a space where she feels at ease? Is the atmosphere supportive of closeness? If yes, then you've already set the stage for something beautiful. What often surprises men the most when they reflect on these moments is that a kiss, particularly the first kiss with a mature woman, is never just about lips meeting. It's not a mechanical act, not a checklist item on the journey of attraction. Instead, it is a culmination, a declaration of sorts that signals not only desire but also the presence of trust, understanding, and resonance. A mature woman doesn't interpret a kiss as something fleeting or trivial. To her, it's the opening of a deeper connection, a symbol that both of you have allowed yourselves to be vulnerable and seen in one another's presence. This is why hesitation born of fear can be so disruptive. When she senses your doubt, she wonders whether you're truly attuned to the gravity of the moment. And yet, when you step forward with calm confidence, balancing respect with desire, the kiss becomes more than a kiss. It becomes a shared story, the memory of which can stay vivid for years. Let's go even deeper into the emotional layers. A younger woman, perhaps still learning about her own preferences and rhythms, might see the kiss as an exciting experiment, a spontaneous burst of chemistry. But a mature woman has lived enough to recognize patterns, to appreciate nuances, to savor moments not for their novelty but for their depth. She has likely experienced kisses that were rushed, empty, or taken for granted, and because of that, she values those that carry weight all the more. When you approach her with attentiveness, you differentiate yourself instantly. She realizes you're not simply chasing gratification, you're building intimacy. This is critical, because intimacy to her is not measured in speed or intensity, but in awareness. She asks herself, does he see me? Does he feel me? Is he connected to this moment with me? Or is he distracted by his own nerves and desires? The answer to those questions shapes whether your kiss becomes a spark that deepens the connection or a fleeting act that fades from memory. Now, how do you ensure the kiss falls into the first category? The secret lies in presence. Not in rehearsed lines, not in forced charm, but in being deeply rooted in the moment. Presence communicates attentiveness. Presence tells her, without words, that you are not anywhere else but here, now, with her. Presence manifests in the way you hold eye contact, in the way you breathe in rhythm with the atmosphere, in the way your body language is calm, grounded, and patient. When you lean in with presence, you don't need to ask in desperation. You simply invite with respect and certainty what both of you already feel. And because presence cannot be faked, it is the most powerful quality you bring into that intimate space. To illustrate, let's consider another story. A man named Daniel had been seeing a woman named Elena, a widow in her early 50s. They shared a beautiful dynamic, filled with laughter, thoughtful conversations, and genuine care. Yet Daniel hesitated when it came to the kiss. He worried about misreading her cues, about overstepping, about ruining what they had. For weeks, the tension built, until finally Elena asked him directly why he hadn't kissed her yet. His confession, that he feared losing her respect, moved her, but it also saddened her. She explained that she had been waiting, that she had been giving him signals, but his hesitation had created doubt in her mind about whether he truly desired her. Daniel learned in that moment that presence was the missing piece. When he finally leaned in, not with flamboyance but with grounded assurance, the kiss was tender, emotional, and transformative. Elena later told him that what she cherished most wasn't the kiss itself, but the feeling that he was finally fully with her, fully aware, fully present. That, to her, was intimacy. So how do you cultivate this presence? Start with your attention, put away distractions, silence your thoughts of the past or the future, and immerse yourself in the woman before you. Notice her expressions, the way her breath shifts when the energy between you changes, the way her eyes linger when she's ready for more. Next, regulate your own energy. If you're rushing, fidgeting, or projecting nervousness, she'll feel it immediately. A mature woman has lived long enough to distinguish between a man who is grounded and one who is anxious. Slow down. Breathe deeply. Allow silence when it comes instead of trying to fill it. This calm steadiness doesn't just comfort you, it reassures her. Finally, frame your invitation to kiss, not as a question of permission rooted in doubt, but as an acknowledgement of what's already happening. Instead of asking timidly, "Can I kiss you?" as if expecting rejection, affirm the shared reality with warmth. "I've been wanting to kiss you. May I?" That subtle difference carries enormous weight. It tells her you are aware, that you are confident, and that you value her enough to honor her response. We should also talk about what happens after the kiss, because the moments that follow are just as important as the kiss itself. Many men, fueled by excitement or nerves, either pull away too quickly or rush into more physicality, thinking that the kiss is simply the opening act of something else. But for a mature woman, the kiss itself is enough. It doesn't have to lead anywhere immediately. If you want to deepen the connection, don't just focus on the kiss, but on the way you hold her afterward, the way you look at her with softness, the way you let silence speak for both of you. By lingering in the aftermath, by allowing the kiss to resonate instead of being a springboard to something else, you show her that you value intimacy for its own sake. That lingering presence is what makes her think about you later, replaying the moment in her mind, smiling to herself because she felt cherished, not rushed. Consider also how a kiss fits into the broader narrative of your connection. A kiss that arrives too early before emotional groundwork is laid can feel shallow, but one that arrives after genuine understanding has been built becomes unforgettable. This is why patience is so important. If you're attentive and present, you'll know when the timing is right. Not because you've calculated it, but because it will be undeniable. The conversation will slow, the silences will lengthen, the energy will grow thicker. In those moments, the kiss becomes the most natural thing in the world, and asking doesn't feel like a disruption, but like an affirmation. She doesn't experience it as a request out of the blue, but as the inevitable next step of what has already been unfolding between you. At this point, you might be wondering, what if she says no? What if, despite your best efforts, she isn't ready for that kiss? The truth is, rejection doesn't have to be an ending. It can be a beginning. If she declines, but you handle it with grace, you demonstrate maturity and respect. You smile, you thank her for her honesty, you let the connection continue without pressure. This response shows her that you value her comfort above your own desire, And paradoxically, it often builds even more attraction. She realizes you are safe, respectful, and attuned. Many women later change their minds not because they felt pressured, but because they felt truly understood. A graceful response to "not yet" is one of the most powerful demonstrations of presence you can give. To bring this full circle, let's return to the question that started it all. Should you ask for a kiss with a mature woman, or does asking ruin the moment? The answer is that asking never ruins the moment when it's done with presence, with respect, and with confidence. What ruins the moment is asking from insecurity, asking without having tuned into her cues, or asking as though you're uncertain of your own desire. When you approach her with awareness, when your words reflect the energy already between you, then asking becomes not a disruption but a gift. It tells her you are not only attentive, but also considerate, willing to honor her readiness while still expressing your own. That is what excites her. That is what makes the kiss meaningful. So if you take away one lesson from this entire conversation, let it be this. Intimacy with a mature woman is never about tricks, shortcuts, or rehearsed lines. It's about presence. It's about slowing down enough to truly see her, to listen to the unspoken language she is offering, and to meet her in the space where desire and respect coexist. When you embody this, hesitation disappears because you no longer worry about rejection or about ruining the moment. You know that whatever unfolds, you are grounded, attentive, and connected. And that confidence, that awareness, is what transforms an ordinary encounter into something unforgettable.